Hello.
Hey there.
Hello. Thierry and Tobias.
Yes, that's
right.
us.
All right, so I'll be your moderator.
Thank you.
I see you are already a co-host. So will you be sharing your screen?
I will.
So Tobias will share.
I cannot. So you have to make me the co-host. It's actually fun because we had that problem every time we did the rehearsals.
Yes. So Thierry, you are co-host, and Tobias. Please check now.
All right, I can share my screen now. Exactly. There we go.
And there we go again, full screen. All right. We're looking at each other.
Okay, so Robertas, we're probably going to be just on time with the session. So we did a rehearsal just before, and we came in at about 42 minutes. So there's probably not a lot of time for QA unless we run over in some way. I have no idea if this room is taken or if there's anything coming after us, or should we do the Q&A just in a written form in the chat?
Mm-hmm. So let's do this way that we'll see how much time it will be needed. And yes, we will have 15 minutes break as usual between each session. So yeah, maybe we can extend a bit, use a couple of minutes from the breakout. Okay. But if not, then you will be asked by organizers to reply to those questions, and then we will circulate those answers.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So then you do not need me to monitor the time and to inform you that like there are 3 minutes left.
Hopefully not. No, I'm going to be looking at the clock in between, and well, all our rehearsals we came in on time, so that shouldn't be a problem.
All right.
By the way I see it, we're probably going to be talking faster than during rehearsal. So.
So if you already rehearsed that, so it should be even quicker. Or
yeah.
Of course.
Is it like one of your 99 problems?
No, it's not a problem. We came in on time. It's all good.
Okay.
That's one solved.
Okay. And by the way, where are you from, guys?
So I'm German.
And I'm Belgian.
Okay. And I'm Lithuanian.
Figures. How's the conference been going so far? You having fun?
Yes, indeed. It's really smooth, and we using that platform for the first time. And so far, it looks like it really goes quite well. We have some technical issues to overcome, but in general, we are progressing quite well, and we are already receiving quite a good feedback. So that's
super.
Good.
I saw that there's a big Agile conference in Ireland, or like remote Ireland, I think, at the same time, and like with a lot of really renowned speakers and everything. So you're up against tough competition. If it still works good, then you did something right.
Okay, so that's good to hear. But yeah, still maybe next time we could do some investigation by picking the date. I think that's could be worth to consider.
Yeah, well, I didn't know about the other one until yesterday either. So
okay, so if you know that, but if you know our conference, then I think it's good.
Right.
right, so 5 more minutes.
Did I pronounce your name right, by the way? Is it Robertas?
Yes, indeed, and it's one of the best pronunciations by non-Lithuanians.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Tobias, or Tobias?
Tobias.
Tobias, and Thierry.
Thierry, yeah.
Thierry.
That's us.
That's us, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Taip, paveiksliukas atrodo, kad labai daug problemų žmogus turi, kaip minčių galvoj.
Quick disclaimer, we have no idea what you just said.
I was laughing. Hi. Because the picture is very, very to the essence of your title. 99 problems and even more, if you count.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's completely on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be starting shortly. All right, so it's time to start to begin our next session. So hello, my name is Robertas, and today I'm a moderator for track 2 for Agile Tour Vilnius. And I would like to welcome Tobias and Thierry. And today we will see presentation of them. So every day we're facing problems, some of us more, some of us less. And looks like Thierry and Tobias has 99 problems, and they are going to advise us how to deal with it. So please, Thierry and Tobias, welcome, and waiting for you to begin. And also I would like to remind you for participants, please raise your questions, please put them in our Who/What platform. This will be reviewed and answered either at the end of the session, if we have time, or will be answered in writing and circulated. And also please be active, since the most active participants of Who/What platform will receive very good prizes. So Thierry and Tobias, welcome, the stage is yours.
Hi. So welcome to our little presentation about the 99 problems. I'm sure it's actually more than 99. It's just a nice number that works well on a title. So welcome, and I'm Tobias, and
I am Thierry.
And we have a little disclaimer right up front, because this is really not a talk. We decided to make it a little play, and we have to, well, apologize because none of us are actual actors. So sorry for that. But we hope it's fun anyway. And of course, the story is completely made up, but everything is based on stuff that we've encountered in our daily work. So it's not far from what actually happened in the real world. So without further ado, hey, Thierry, can I ask you something? You're a consultant, right?
Hello, Tobias. Well, yeah, sort of. So I try to advise companies in improving their organizational performance. So why do you ask?
Oh, that's great, because I could really use your help with something. Well, you know, I finally got that promotion that I told you about, and you're now looking at the head of IT for my company.
Well, look at that. Congratulations, Tobias. Well done.
Yeah, well, not so sure about that, because I'm completely out of my comfort zone. And well, I've been struggling with just about everything for the last couple of days. And to be honest, it's so horrible that I don't even know where to start.
Well, now you're making me curious. Tell me, what is it you're struggling with?
Okay, let me explain. So, as you know, I work for this bank, and well, it's not huge and it doesn't deal with personal accounts. So there's not a lot of transactions and it's not very public, but we do a fair amount of business in real estate, and we make about €500 million of revenue per year. So you could call that successful, I guess. And well, for me, it's been great because I was only dealing with computers. And well, now I have to worry about people. And I feel like, well, frankly, nobody in the building has the slightest clue of what's going on. We have no idea who's working on what, and more importantly, where all the money is going. So there's 100 people, 50 projects per year, and a huge budget, like 50 million euros. I mean, that's a lot, right? But as far as I can see, nothing ever gets done. The only project that I know for sure got done last year was minor SAP release, and that took 3 months and 15 people to complete.
Oh gosh.
Well, yeah, I know it sounds funny, but I'm totally serious. Like, my promotion came with a commitment. I have to improve IT performance by 10% until 2022. And now I feel like I don't even know what that means. Like 10% of what?
All right, so let's see. This might take some time. So first of all, how do you think you can express performance?
How do I express it? I'm sorry, you'll have to explain what you mean by that.
Well, how would you know you are productive? So what does it mean to be productive?
In general, you mean? I'd say we're productive when everybody's busy doing work that benefits the company, when we don't have too many people slacking off, and I don't have to feel bad for paying them.
Okay, so people are busy doing stuff, but are they really productive then?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're producing code, I guess, software.
Okay, so we say you are productive when you are accomplishing something in terms of your goal. Every action that brings the organization closer to its goal is said to be productive, and every action that does not is just not productive. So productivity on its own is just meaningless if you don't know what the goal is. And in fact, there is only one goal, no matter what the company is.
Well, that's obvious. I mean, we're a bank, so our goal is world peace. No, I'm kidding, of course, it's to make money.
Yes, of course. The goal of any organization is to actually make money. All right, I know this sounds really, really bad, but well, it pays the bills.
Huh, but you're serious? I mean, what about like Greenpeace or Amnesty International? Aren't they supposed to be working for a better world, like save the planet, all that stuff?
Well, yes, they should do that, but still they need money to do that. And they have to make sure they don't run out of money so that they can continue to do that work.
Okay, well, I guess that makes sense. So what you were saying is whatever we do, it should be aimed at either making the company more efficient in terms of spending or making it earn more, right?
Sort of, yes. So any action that that moves you towards making money is productive, and any action that takes you away from making money is just unproductive. Now, the important part is to figure out which is which.
Oh God. I mean, that means our whole big IT budget is for the birds, right? We might as well just stop everything, because if we can't even tell what we're working on, right?
Right, but don't worry. You can still fix this on one condition. Well, you need to find out when you are making money and when you are not making money.
Okay, I get that, but how do I do that? I mean, that SAP upgrade certainly cost money, but did it really help in any way? I mean, how can I measure that?
That's a fair question, indeed. How would you know you are making money? Now, in fact, every organization has a set of metrics at their disposal to know if they are reaching the goal or not. So do you have any idea what these metrics could be?
Well, I mean, usually companies have yearly numbers. So gross income minus spending minus taxes equals net profit.
Indeed, yes. But profit is not enough on its own. You also need to compare how much money is made versus how much money is invested. That is your return on investment. But still, it is possible to make profit, have a good return on investment, and still go bankrupt. And in most cases, the problem is cash flow.
Okay, so if I got that right, then I first have to find out how much of what we spend in IT is actually used to make a profit. And then at the same time, I have to figure out how much cash is available at any point in time, right? I mean, I understand why, but that's not easy. I mean, I'm not even sure I have the security clearance to get those numbers.
And I get your point here. So therefore, for your daily operations, well, you cannot rely on net profit, return on investment, and cash flow, because you don't necessarily have access to that information. So you need something that shows the relation between the overall performance of the company and your daily operations. Now, in fact, you can express net profit, return on investment, and cash flow in terms of throughput, inventory, and operational expense. And it is actually these metrics that you are going to use in your daily operations.
Finally, there's something familiar, like the operational expense. I know what that is. So operational expense is the money that we spend on salaries plus the money that we spend on keeping the computers running, right?
Or more precisely, operational expense is all the money the system spends in order to turn inventory into throughput.
Throughput. And inventory, you mean like chairs, tables, and laptops?
No. So it's not about chairs, tables, laptops, whatever else. Well, yes, they are inventory on your balance, but that's not really your problem. But let's first start with throughput. So throughput is the rate at which the system generates money through sales. And the sales part here is very important. So if the company is only producing stuff without selling, well, it will go bankrupt.
Okay, but we're a bank. Like, we don't really produce anything. Okay, money, sort of, but we don't sell that, do we? We sell loans. Okay, now that I think about it, that is selling money, and the price is the interest rate. So throughput would mean how much interest was collected over time?
Yes, that would be correct for the bank as an organization. But what about your IT department? How does your IT department support selling these loans?
All sorts of ways. I mean, we have asset management software that keeps track of the loans and the contracts and the buildings that we help finance. And we have software for the call center, and there's accounting, and we help set up all the workplaces. And well, IT is everywhere, so nothing would work without it.
But what happens if legislation around loans changes, or the bank wants to sell a different product? Let's say a new kind of loan. Can the bank do that without IT?
Well, that depends. Do you consider Excel IT? Because really, when those kinds of things happen, then everybody just panics, and it takes a year until we even get started in implementation. So the workflow is usually set it up in Excel, then have people find ways to work around the system, and then wait until the update gets done many months from now.
And what would happen if all of this doesn't happen? So will it impact your sales? Will it impact your goal?
Well, if we can't sell the new product, then that's going to mean losing customers to the competition. And if we can't keep up with the legislation, then I don't even want to think about that. That's like the worst case scenario.
Well, there you have it. Implementing these changes is actually your throughput, because they will support the sales for the bank.
Okay. So if my department wanted to improve throughput, we'd have to try to deliver more of these changes or sooner, right?
Exactly. So more features delivered means more throughput.
Okay, but I still don't understand what inventory means. I mean, we don't really produce anything else than money. And the money that we keep in the vault is probably cash flow, right?
So inventory is all the money that the system has invested in purchasing or creating the things it intends to sell.
I don't get it. I mean, we don't really create the money, and we're also not buying it. I mean, that would make an awesome product, I'm sure, but that's done somewhere else.
Okay, so let's see. So you as an IT department creates software that supports selling loans, don't you?
Okay, I think I get it now. So if we spend our IT budget on creating a piece of software that handles loans, then we've invested that money into future sales. So it becomes inventory, right?
Right.
And if we don't finish that program, or it doesn't get released, then the money that we invested doesn't work towards the goal, and thus it remains inventory, right?
Exactly. So unfinished, unreleased IT programs are just inventory.
Okay. Oh, wow. Well, this has helped me a lot already. I'm going to have to figure out those numbers and then see how we're doing. So can I ask you again when I'm done with that?
Of course you can.
Hey, Thierry, it's me again.
Hello, Tobias. How are you doing? How are things going in your IT department?
Oh, well, we've done a lot of research these past few weeks, and I've come up with numbers. So it's not all a mystery anymore. But, well, I still feel like I'm missing pieces, or at least I'm not really seeing the full picture yet. But I'm going too quickly. I have to have an easy one first. So we've some cases that are fully obvious, like there was a lot of money invested, we created a piece of software, the project is finished, it's considered successful, but then it never goes to production. Am I correct in assuming that this means that there was no throughput at all, but a lot of waste, which means total loss?
Yes, you are correct. So there was no throughput, and you've just lost money in creating inventory and having operational expense.
Well, okay, like I said, it's easy to find and easy to fix. We should just stop doing it. I mean, make sure the software is needed, or if we find out it isn't, then just cancel the whole thing. But then, well, there's a few other projects where we actually managed to get the software released, but only after severe delays and a lot of rework. Bugs were caught in QA, so major issues with the operations showed up after everything was finished, of course. You know, that kind of thing.
Okay, so now I need to ask you something because, well, I feel this is going to be very important. how does your quality assurance work?
Well, is there more than one way?
Yes.
I think we do the same thing that everybody does. I mean, we spend some time to make a plan, then we implement, and then when the release is done in development, we roll out the software to an integration environment. And QA comes in and spends a couple of weeks on testing until they stop finding defects.
But how many defects does your QA find that development could have found during development?
Well, I suppose there's a few, or well, now that I think about it, it's probably a lot. I don't even know. I mean, I know there's sometimes it's just little stuff like when something has the wrong color. But we do have some major defects, and sometimes the thing just doesn't work at all. So yeah, we made those mistakes way earlier, sometimes even during the planning.
Okay. Now, does development implement automated acceptance tests? So I mean by that, tests that execute the application as if a real user would use it. And do they have these tests executed continuously on any change to the software?
No, I don't think we do that. I mean, we have developer tests, of course, but well, people are always chasing some deadline. So I think that the general sentiment is that tests just take way too much time and we need more features.
But what happens when a bug is found by QA? How does it get solved?
The whole team is on call during QA and they fix anything that the testers find right away until it's green.
So you're saying you do have the budget to have expensive developers on call to fix bugs under pressure, but you don't have the budget for automated acceptance testing? Am I right?
Well, okay, now that you put it that way, yeah, that sure adds up to a lot of money. I mean, we really blocked the fault for the entire 3 weeks. That alone is probably worth a lot of automated tests. And I suppose that when we find a bug, then, well, once we fix it, the whole thing has to be tested again and again and again, because potentially we are introducing new bugs. So yeah, that will add up.
Oh, whoa, wait a minute. So are you saying you are doing all of this manually? So this is going to take a hell of a lot of time. Now imagine if development did actually invest in automated acceptance tests right from the start with the help of QA to define your scenarios. So once you have these tests in place and they are running continuously, well, you can start implementing the feature. And as long as the test fails, well, you know there is still work to do. Once the test passes to green, you know instantly the feature is done. At that point, well, you can safely release to production or start writing the next acceptance test.
Ooh, holy shit. I mean, this is huge. I just realized that when you break a thing while you're still working on it, it's also much quicker and easier to fix.
Yes, and you would also prevent QA from working on scrap, that is faulty software. So having QA working on faulty software is just a waste of time and a waste of money. And as a result, well, you will lose throughput.
Whew. Well, that's one hell of an action item. I better start to get going on automated testing. Thanks, that helps a lot again.
Well, you're very welcome.
Hey again, Thierry. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. How did things evolve in your IT department since last time?
Cool. Well, we made some really big improvements with the automated testing. Our bug counts are down 80%, and we managed to cut the time for manual QA by 2/3. So now it's only a week. And for me, the biggest improvement is that everybody is happy while doing it. There's a lot less incidents, and the testers are now involved in the design, and they get to see that everything works as expected, and instead of always having to point out the bad stuff. So yeah, things are looking pretty good. But okay, well, I don't know how to explain this. So now that the quality issues are no longer a problem, there are some other projects where we finish on time, we manage to get the features done, and it still feels like the results aren't even worth the cost, like not even close. And these make me worried, to be honest, because that's probably the most of our projects. It's like everybody is busy all the time, but there just isn't any progress.
All right, so you are saying everybody is busy all the time, but what do you actually mean by that? Are they working on things that actually help your customers?
Sure. I mean, we started removing all the things that don't help with the goal a while ago. I mean, I should say that, well, okay, not everybody's always working on the project related stuff. I mean, just about everyone has more than one project, and they all have some legacy stuff to take care of, you know, like maintenance and old software and all of that.
But why? Why are you keeping people working on different things that are not related to projects that actually support the goal?
Well, you mean, why are we keeping people busy? Well, because they don't get paid to sit around, right? I mean, not everyone is needed for project work all the time. So in order to make use of their capacity, we try to give them stuff to fill their schedules.
Okay, this sounds interesting. Well, let me ask you something different. Does everyone on your team have the same skills?
No, of course not. I mean, we have front-end and back-end developers, database experts, AI specialists, you name it. Really depends on the project context.
So what happens when, for instance, the database needs an urgent update, but the expert is busy doing other work?
Well, then I guess they'll just have to wait, or maybe when it's really urgent, then they can come in on short notice. Is that a problem? I mean, people can just continue doing other stuff in the meantime, can't they?
So what you are doing here is balancing the capacity of each and everyone with market demand. Is it that?
Well, I guess you could say that. Well, mostly we're just trying to be efficient.
Well, the problem with balancing capacity is that it is a sure way to bankruptcy. So not enough capacity will lead to losing throughput and losing money. And too much capacity is, well, just a waste.
But isn't that exactly why we should try to balance it?
No, you don't want this. Okay, so I need to explain you something. So you have to understand there is a difference between activating people and utilizing people. So people are activated when they are just doing stuff to keep them busy. So it's like pressing the on switch of a machine. It runs regardless if it benefits the system. On the other hand, utilizing is using people to support the goal.
That's confusing. I mean, I thought we're doing that. Like all the different things that people are working on are somehow important to some project or some purpose. So doesn't that mean they're all supporting the goal?
So when you look at the company as a system, yes, you are right. So they are all supporting the goal. But every product by itself has a value stream that acts as a standalone system. If people are used on different projects, you end up having different value streams competing for the attention of these people. Now, in theory, their capacity is enough, but people will never be available at the exact right time and for the right purpose.
Oh.
So let me help you here. So a system is a black box. Stuff goes in on one end and the finished product, a customer value, comes out at the other end. That is true for every product. That's why you can't look at the whole company. So you need to look at each value stream individually because every value stream is such a black box, unless a value stream actually depends on the value produced by another one. In addition, each of those systems has a base, a rate of throughput, and that base is determined by exactly one bottleneck. Have you heard of bottlenecks?
Well, yeah, on bottles, of course. But no, seriously, it's when there's one place that basically all the items have to go through and it makes everything in front pile up while everything after gets a thin outpour, right? But how can you be so sure it's only one?
Well, there may be several potential bottlenecks in a system, but we're sure every system only has one governing bottleneck at a time that controls the overall system performance.
Okay, but how do you find that bottleneck then?
Well, in manufacturing, That is pretty easy. Just go on the work floor and look around for stuff piling up. In IT, it's less obvious. So let me ask you something. Do you use anything to visualize your work, like a Scrum board or a Kanban board?
Well, yeah, we have Jira, so yes.
Jira, right? Of course you have Jira. Who does not? But, well, do you have tickets piling up in one column or in more columns?
Piling up, well, there's always more than one page of tickets on the board, and we scroll a lot. So no, I don't think we see any pileups. I mean, it makes no sense anyway. Like, things will be in doing until they go to done, and well, whether you look at the done column as a pileup, but well, I assume we don't, because that's when we got throughput. So there's really only one place where tickets could pile up. It's the to-do column.
Okay, so we need to clarify something here. What do you actually mean by done? So I hope you mean deployed in production and released to your users, do you?
No, of course not. I mean, we don't deploy until we're cleared by QA. So when everything's finished.
And then why don't you have QA on your board?
QA? Well, if we added that, then I guess we'd have everything pile up there until the final phase, and then it would all drain all at once. And what would that tell us then?
Well, it would tell you where the bottleneck is, for instance. So by visualizing all the steps of your value stream until releasing to your users, well, you will be able to see this bottleneck.
Wait, so am I understanding that correctly? We're supposed to move all of our work items to production before the whole product is finished. Like, users would see half existing features.
Well, it's a bit more subtle. So yes, you should move your work as fast as possible into production. No, users shouldn't see half existing features. There's no use for it. However, you can still roll out unfinished features without users actually noticing it. And you want this because it will give you early feedback on how that code behaves in production. And that feedback is very valuable because it will allow you to make new decisions.
Okay. So the feature would be deployed and tested, but not visible. Like, there's a difference between deployment and release, or rather going live and going public.
Yes, and you should visualize all of this. Also the distinction between deploying and releasing, because it has no value to pile up unreleased features in production. That too is creating inventory.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Now, continuing that thought, I would have to find a way to get approval for one feature at a time instead of having a week of QA at the end of the project. And well, actually, that shouldn't be too hard to organize. I mean, the testers are already involved in writing the acceptance tests. So they know the product, they know how the team works, and it would probably only take them half an hour to approve of a single feature. And they could come in every time that a test turns green.
Yes, indeed. And by doing so, well, you would improve your throughput.
So let me get this straight. So the idea is to literally streamline the entire process into delivering every single piece of work through the whole system as quickly as possible.
Exactly. So your aim is to create the fast flow of work through your delivery process.
Okay, I understand. But doesn't that also mean that I have to completely rethink how my workforce is organized? I mean, I have to assign everyone to work on one and only one project, or better yet, one task until it's entirely done.
Indeed. And by doing so, you are increasing throughput while simultaneously reducing inventory and operational expenses. So you are improving all three metrics together, where in the past you were only focusing on one metric, that is your operational expense, by keeping people busy.
Oh, wow. Well, that's going to be one hell of a team meeting on Monday. I better get going. Thanks, Thierry. Hey, Thierry, I've got great news. It really worked.
How cool is that? What actually worked? Tell me.
Okay. But so of course, people weren't too happy about the committing to do only one project at a time, and reorganizing the legacy stuff was really painful, to say the least. But well, once everybody figured out how much faster they were getting the results, it just took off.
Wow, that's great. So you just experienced the benefits of handling your project in sequence instead of in parallel. So let me explain what happened. So let's say you have 2 projects of each 3 months. If you do them in sequence, well, you should end the first one after 3 months and the second one after 6 months, right?
Right.
On the other hand, if you do them in parallel, switching back and forth every 2 weeks, what happens? Well, in theory, your first project should end after somewhere 5.5 months. That is already 2.5 months later than when you do them in sequence. And the second project should still end after 6 months. Well, you hope so. But in fact, it will take even longer to finish both projects because, well, time will be lost due to context switching, setup times, and queues. And if you have the same people shared between projects, well, at some point, one project will have to wait for a person that is busy working on another project. So what looked like a clever optimization, well, ends up to be a serious waste.
Okay, well, that's a nice summary. And in hindsight, it's totally obvious. So as I was saying, things are going well. And I'm no longer worried about the 10% improvement that I promised. We're way ahead of that, thanks to you. But there are a few odd projects that still puzzle me. And well, they look just like the other ones, but they're having issues. Well, for example, we have a third-party contractor working on a customer portal. And well, they have fixed release dates every 6 months. And of course, no matter how fast our teams deliver the software that should connect to that portal, we always release on the same date. Am I correct in thinking that they are our bottleneck and we can do whatever we want, but we won't be able to improve the delivery time ever?
Yes, correct. So the first step is always to identify your bottleneck. So in your case, it is that third party and their fixed cadence. So how could you take advantage of knowing that?
Well, first of all, I think they shouldn't have to wait for us. So, or yeah, have anything else to do than portal stuff. So make sure that their entire time is used to deliver the relevant features.
That's it. So that is the second step. You exploit the bottleneck. You make sure that bottleneck only works on stuff that no one else can do.
Okay, and then I guess we could change our own delivery times to match their cadence, so that we don't have any half-completed features by the time that they roll out, and we always match the set of changes that they can handle. Or better yet, we could stay ahead of their release by a couple of features so that we always have something in stock in case that they can put in a little extra. Well, we should completely sync up our own production to theirs, right?
Right, you should do that. So that is your third step. Subordinate everything else to the bottleneck and always match its pace.
Okay, I think I'm getting it now. And how about, well, once we manage to sync up with them, we start asking for half the release cycle, like release half the feature set every 3 months so that we get earlier time to customer. And if we get the rest of production in sync, that shouldn't be too hard, right?
That's a very clever idea. So by halving the release cycle, you are cutting the batch size. And as a result, your time to market will shrink and the flow of work, that is your throughput, will increase. Your users will now get features sooner and you will get feedback faster. So in the end, you will be able to better respond to market demand.
Well, not to mention, we can sell earlier. So the return on investment would be sooner.
And your cash flow will increase.
Well, and finally, I've been thinking about giving them access to our delivery pipeline so that they could benefit from all the progress that we made on automated testing. And maybe that will help speed up their own delivery.
That's a very good point. So up until now, all you did was making better use of your bottleneck by exploiting it and then subordinating everything else to the bottleneck. That didn't cost you anything from an investment point of view. You got it somehow for free. It's only now that you are going to actually spend money by elevating your bottleneck in order to make it work faster and manage a higher throughput.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm really getting the hang of this. It's not even all that hard once you see the patterns.
Indeed, it isn't that hard, but I have to give you that. If you are used to classic cost accounting, well, this feels very counterintuitive.
Yeah, in a bank. Oh boy. Well, now there's just one more project team that's been bothering me, and well, now that you've explained, I can almost guess what you're going to say. So there's a project where everyone is still working at maximum capacity. Like they're not shared between projects. It's just so much work. And well, if I get the fixed cadence thing correctly, then they should be able to still perform at a synced up pace, but they can't somehow. Somebody's always waiting for something else. And when you ask them why, it's usually some lame excuse, like the servers aren't booting up correctly or the internet is slow. I mean, I get that some unforeseen things happen, but most of those reasons, well, they might take minutes, but not days or even weeks.
Okay, so what is happening here are two phenomena: dependent events and statistical fluctuation. So you have dependent events when an event or a series of events must take place before another event can begin. So let's say we have a linear process where we have 2 processing steps and 3 delivery steps. The processing steps each take 5 minutes and every delivery step takes 10 minutes. So the whole process takes 40 minutes in total. Now imagine the first delivery step is a bit slow. It takes 15 minutes. So that would make the whole process take 45 minutes to complete. That's unfortunate, but not really a problem. Now let's imagine the middle delivery step is slow. It takes 20 minutes. Again, this will have an effect on the overall completion time. The whole process now takes 50 minutes. But also, it means that the first delivery step can now be executed twice during the time the middle delivery step delivers. So it will produce twice as much inventory. And in the meantime, the other workstations behind the slow delivery step would starve because they would have nothing to work on. So that's time wasted.
Right, and this would quickly get out of control because, you'll never be able to catch up with all the unwanted side effects.
Exactly. Now, this is a very simple linear example. So in real life, processes are much more complex. They might have parallel paths and dependencies with other teams or even companies. Even the smallest irregularity would have huge consequences. But the problem is some things can be precisely planned, but most distractions and slight variations are just unpredictable.
Okay, in other words, we can't ever make exact plans, but we always have to accept that things will go wrong.
Indeed. And all of these events are subject to statistical fluctuations. So most factors critical to running a project successfully cannot be determined precisely ahead of time. In the end, you have to take both phenomena, dependent events and statistical fluctuations, into account together.
So that would mean that we can only solve it by leaving some wiggle room?
Yes, I was coming to that. So you need to introduce some slack to absorb these unpredictable events. And that is why it is a bad idea to keep your utilization close to 100%, because, well, it will leave less and less room for slack. And as a consequence, any unpredictable event will have a huge impact on your lead time.
Okay, well, if that's what it takes to make them deliver anything, then I guess it's worth the extra budget. And, well, we'll sure get some happier faces for it. Oh, Thierry, I can't believe it. Like, it's only been a couple of months and we've completely reinvented the IT department. And there's now only a very few changes and then we're done.
Whoa, be aware. It won't be finished after these few more changes. So don't allow Inertia to become your next bottleneck.
And what does Inertia mean now?
It means don't be too happy with what you have accomplished. So that will make you complacent. Once you remove the bottleneck in your IT department, another bottleneck will rise somewhere else. And it's up to you to find that new bottleneck.
All right. Yeah. Well, you said there's always one. So even if the one that we've been working on is no longer the limiting factor, there'll always be something else that is. So we have to start over and we have to keep repeating the same process, right? And
right.
Well, we've already done that. I mean, the first bottleneck was quality, and then we had the third party and the statistical events. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So the new bottleneck could be in front of your IT department, in sales or product development. Perhaps you can't get orders approved quickly enough. Or it will be behind your IT department in the market. Maybe demand could be high. So you have to think about better marketing.
Oh. Okay. I mean, the world doesn't stop and markets change. It's actually quite logical that this has to be iterative in some way.
So to conclude, well, let's first call the bottleneck a constraint from now on. That's a better term because it's more generic. So it could be a department, it could be people, it could be a server, it could be a policy. Now, to improve your performance, well, you need to repeat the following 5 steps. So you start by identifying the constraint, then you exploit the constraint, then you subordinate everything to the constraint, and then you elevate the constraint. And lastly, well, you start over again. You go to step 1 to identify your new constraint.
Mm-hmm. And while we're doing that, build quality and reduce batch sizes.
Yes, exactly. You've got it, Tobias.
Thanks, Thierry. You helped quite a bit with that. Okay, so
yes.
That brings us to the end of our little conversation. And well, everybody out there, thank you for staying with us. And we hope you had as much fun listening to this as we did in making it up. We have to say, though, that none of this was our own idea.
So all of this is based on the work of Eliyahu Goldratt, which was published in 1984 in his book, The Goal. So it's been there since a really, really long time. And if you haven't read The Goal, well, you really, really should.
I second that. Now, we know there's QA and a chat, and we haven't looked at any of that. So if we have time, I see there's like 2 minutes left.
Yeah, there's a couple of minutes left. So let's take a look. So firstly, I want to ask a question, at least what I understood from this presentation and took for myself is that actually those 99 problems, these are most probably symptoms of some real cause, some constraint that or bottleneck that should be fight with. And I wanted to ask you from your experience, maybe you could share some case of some memorable bottleneck or the way you deal with it. So maybe something, Thierry?
So if it wasn't completely obvious, all of the examples in that presentations are real. Like they're not made up. They're not the same company, and it's not always as obvious, but that's all for real.
Yeah, and I have a not very obvious bottleneck I once seen, and that was actually the automated testing. So it took more time than the manual testing because the failure rate was very high, and so they had to re-execute it over and over again.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting that automating testing should be something that speed up us, and it appears that even slow down us. Okay, it's interesting. All right. So now
while you're talking about that, so has anybody ever had a large suite of Selenium tests? Because that's what's going to happen. It's like they're going to be really slow and they're going to break all the time, and you have to spend more time on improving those tests than you actually spend writing your code. So that's one that I've seen often.
Mm-hmm. All right, something to consider. Still, we have a bit of time, and I see there are 2 questions. So first one, how to find time for creating better processes when there are many responsibilities and other work, and as always, no time because everything has to be completed and delivered yesterday. And Thierry, Tobias, any advices?
Well, you know that cartoon with the cavemen that have the quadratic wheels, and there's another one that comes in with an actual round wheel, and they all say, well, we're not right now because we don't have time. Right. So yeah, if you're stuck with something that costs you a lot of time to fix, like, you know, a process that's broken, then you'll never have time. So you have to make time for that improvement. Otherwise, it's never going to stop.
And that's why it's important to have slack time, because that slack time will allow you, well, to think about improvements instead of always being busy delivering.
If you've read the DevOps Handbook by Gene Kim, it's like the mantra of that book is the improvement of daily work is more important than the daily work itself.
Yeah.
If you can't spend time on improving things, then it's never going to get any better.
And this is where then the improvement kata comes in handy, because it will, well, make sure you will work on organizational improvement, and it will keep everyone focused.
All right, and this is very illustrative response and reply on the question. And actually, that's it. We do not have more questions. Thierry, Tobias, thank you for your presentation. And really, this is something I will keep in mind during my next upcoming days, and we'll try to review the ways I'm working, and hope that our participants find useful things to try out today or even tomorrow.
Thank you.
So thanks. Now I would like to again to remind our visitors, our participants, please fill in the feedback forms in the Menti. You can find the information in our Whova platform, and please do so. And please be active in our Whova platform, because the most active users will receive very good prizes. So now we are finishing our track, and please now return to the main track where we will have the final key speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.